Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for bringing attention to my parents' favoritism of my sister in a public way? My parents have my sister Amy, 17F, and me, 15F. They always liked Amy more. I'm not sure why. I don't know if I'm not their real kid or if they only wanted one kid and I ruined everything, but they pay so much attention to Amy, show her so much love, support her in everything, and I get nothing from them. My support comes from a couple of extended family members and friends' parents. Examples: Amy, since she was in elementary school, got to pick what summer camp she went to and she never got told no for where she wanted to go. I was never given a choice. Some years I went to the local free one during the day and other years I went to no summer camp at all. When Amy turned 8, she got a bedroom makeover and was given her own TV, a cool new bed, a desk space and a new computer, and they put a mini fridge in it, all in pink to match her favorite color. I still don't have any of that stuff. The laptop I'm using now was a gift from a family member. When I turned 8, I was given used dolls from the thrift store that were from the dollar store. I saw them enough times to remember. Some were even broken with missing limbs or hair that was half pulled out. My parents will buy Amy pizza or Taco Bell as a treat for being a good daughter and being their special girl, and it happens at least 3 times a month where she gets it just because. I never get it just because. I don't even get it for doing good in a test like she would. They spoil her whenever she does good in a test. I never get spoiled. They told Amy they have money saved for her future. They never told me that. I brought it up to my parents before, but they brushed me off, even when I cried. My mom told me to stop being so childish. That's why when my parents had a party Saturday for Dad's birthday and they started boasting about Amy and how great her grades were, I kind of lost my temper and asked about me. I pointed out my grades were actually better than hers. But they never talk about me like that. I asked why they only talk about Amy. Why is she their favorite? Why don't they care more about me? My uncle, Dad's brother, said out loud that I have a point. But stuff got awkward after and my parents yelled at me for doing that. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Not only are you not the a-hole here, your parents definitely are, sorry. This is not your fault and it's nothing you deserve. A lot of parents have favorites, but most of those have the decency not to be obvious about it. Some families go through cycles where one kid is the golden child, others take turns. Find your strength, love, connection, and belonging in other areas. You need those to grow and be strong for the remaining years you are with them. And try not to let it sour your relationship with your sister if you can. If you can't, at least acknowledge that it wasn't her fault, but theirs. More unsolicited advice: try not to let their bad parenting make you a bad person. Some people never get over this stuff and it can make them more likely to engage in risky behavior, drinking, drugs, sex with inappropriate people, etc., thinking, if I don't matter to them, I don't matter to me. Check in with yourself, and if you see self-negativity, pull it out and remind yourself that you deserved as much love as the next kid, and you still do. Definitely write down all the examples you can think of: dates, times, who was present, whatever. Narrative therapy can help solidify details outside your head, getting it out of your system and onto the page. But don't destroy it. One day it might be valuable to you, to keep faith with your young self, to have a record of the truth if they ever claim you are exaggerating. I'm also not joking when I say this is fodder for future work, adult reflection, therapy with a pro, or literally writing a novel or performing stand-up comedy. Always keep the receipts. If your parents ever turn to you for help, you can remind yourself whether you want to put them in a nice retirement community or the kind of raisin ranch that shows up on 60 Minutes, or simply tell them to ask the daughter they invested themselves in. Not the a-hole. When you're an adult and ready to leave, don't look back. Go no contact with them and have a great life without them. And if they see how successful you are and ask for a handout, tell them you have nothing to give to them. That's me being petty, but they don't deserve it. Info: what is your relationship like with your sister? You don't mention it, but does she act like a spoiled princess and bully you, or does she see that she's more favored and try to make it up to you? OP replies: she bullies me for it. We never had a good relationship, but the last 2 or 3 years has been worse than all the years before combined. Not the a-hole. I don't know what is going on with your parents, but this is definitely a form of abuse. Make sure to talk to someone at your school about this, like a counselor. They might be able to help you get some help, especially with planning your financial future with regard to education. Opie replies. Our school only has a guidance counselor to talk to and she knows pretty much nothing. She always acts dumb when people say their parents can't or won't pay for college and then she just gives them info like their parents are paying. Next story. Am I the a-hole for hiding my child's savings account from my ex and not letting him contribute? My ex and I divorced 8 years ago. We have a 12-year-old son together. We don't discuss finances other than child support. I don't care for any money he may or may not give to our child directly. Years ago, I opened a savings account for my kid. I religiously transfer a set amount plus child benefit into it every single month. I also put some loose change in there whenever I can. My kid knows of this account and gets to decide if any monetary gifts from family and friends are to be spent immediately or added to his growing savings. He doesn't keep tabs on the account, but has a rough idea of how much he gets every month and how much he's got already. My son must have told my ex about the account, because my ex approached me about it. He asked to see the account. I refused. He asked to at least know the exact amount. He has a rough idea. I refused. I don't see the point. He asked to contribute and become a co-owner, as in, the account is to be from mom and dad. I asked if he'd like to make a big initial payment. He doesn't, as he doesn't have that kind of money to just throw into an account nobody can access for years. He just wants to join in now and throw in some cash here and there, but the amount that's already in there is to be overlooked. I refused. He told me that I can only afford that thanks to his child support contributions. I told him that the child support is his duty and is spent on our son's current needs, not for him to hold it over my head. He called me a jerk for not telling him about the account when I first opened it because now he's 8 years behind and won't be able to match it and it will look bad when my kid grows up and only gets my support. I told him that it's up to him whether or not he invests in our child's future. He still has a long time to save something if he so wishes. He told me I was a jerk for purposefully making him look like a bad dad for not having thought of something like this. I don't think it's fair of him to ask to jump in and claim to have contributed to the savings I've worked hard on for years, but now I wonder if I actually acted like an a-hole for creating a situation in which I look like the better and more caring parent. Should I have told him about it when I first opened the account? Should I just let him contribute to keep the peace? The money is going to end up in my son's account anyway, no matter if he receives payments from 2 savings accounts or just one. Edit 1. I thought I'd add, since this concern has already been raised a few times in the comments, it's an ISA nobody can withdraw money from until my child's 18th birthday, though I'm not sure he knows that, so I'm not too worried about any potential theft. It's more of a power play issue. Top comments. Not the a-hole. You've done nothing wrong. In fact, I think his reaction to this realization that the account exists is all the proof you need to know it would have been bad for him to be involved from the beginning. If he can contribute to it, he can withdraw from it too, I believe. Minimally, it would introduce questions around who really provided that and it would give him some more say in how it is spent. Keep firm boundaries. He is in no way disadvantaged here. He can start his own savings account for the kid, either large or small. It is absurdly unreasonable for him to expect you to share it with him now. Edit. It's also a common but faulty critique for people who pay child support to act like everything the recipient can do financially is because of that contribution. Pay no mind. Opie replies. Luckily, he wouldn't be able to withdraw any money from it. The money cannot be touched until my child's 18th birthday, even by me, or anyone else with potential full access. Not the a-hole. Also, some possible red flags in the fact that he doesn't just want to contribute to the savings but wants to be the co-owner and know how much money is in there. It comes to mind for me to make sure this money is protected for your child and cannot be accessed by anyone else. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking my daughter's college/future savings account? My late husband and I have 3 kids, Elena, 16, Lucas, 15, and Elizabeth, 10. My husband passed 4 years ago and had a large enough life insurance policy that I was able to pay off the house and had enough left over to nearly triple the kids' college funds. There is enough money in each of their accounts for them to go to a public university debt-free or at least 2 years in a private university without scholarships or financial aid. Elena has always had mental health/behavioral issues. She's been in therapy since she was 4 and until last year was attending an alternative school. Over the summer, she stole her dad's car and crashed it after I said she couldn't go on vacation with her friend. Luckily she and the people in the other car were okay, but my insurance wouldn't cover the repairs to the other car. Her behavior escalated after that, and her therapist and I decided it would be best for everyone if she went to a residential program for kids like her. She recommended a few places. I got to tour the facilities and speak with the staff and even some students, and I chose what I believe is the best program for us. A couple weeks ago my husband's parents asked how I was able to afford everything with the car and Elena's school. I make about $70,000 a year in an area where $100K for a family of 4 is considered low income, so it's a fairly valid question. I told them that all of this had to come out of Elena's savings account. There should still be enough in there for her to go to a community college and transfer to a state school, but she'd have to get a job to help pay for her expenses. They were so upset that I took this all out of Elena's account. They were saying it's not my money to give, everything was in my name, that she's a child and I can't screw her over for life over a mistake, and that it's favoritism by only taking from her account and not her siblings. They asked how she feels about it and I told them she doesn't know yet and that we will break it to her when she's doing better in her program. Now they're even more upset with me and I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. Top comments. Not the a-hole. You're handled this beautifully. For oh so many reasons. Your 16-year-old is having a mental health crisis. A college fund will do her zero good if she's so unstable that she can't thrive at college, and if she's struggling in high school that's a real good indication that she'd struggle in college. Mental health care has to be her priority. Since each child had a generous fund, it's very reasonable to use her fund for her care and leave the other kids with theirs. You're still leaving her room for community college, and even if you couldn't, there's a chance that Alana may continue to struggle, and now is the right time to put some boundaries between her needs and her siblings' needs. You, not your in-laws, are your children's parents. You alone make parenting decisions. Your husband's life insurance was left to you, not to his parents. You alone decide how it will be spent. I'm sorry that they're interfering. I also fear it's likely that they may try to stir up contention with Elena and her siblings down the road. I would ask her care team for help developing a plan for sharing with her how you funded her are. I suspect they'll agree to wait until she's stabilized, but it would be good to have a therapeutic team behind you. And really, unless her grandparents are in a position to fund her care or fund her college, they can stuff it. Not the a-hole. Frankly, it's none of their business how you choose to spend your deceased husband's life insurance money, and personally I'm quite impressed that you've generously given so much of it to your kids. Your decision is perfectly reasonable and you aren't an a-hole for it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling out my stepsister for asking me a question that could get me into trouble and mom for backing her? 3 weeks ago my stepsister, 15F, first asked me, 16M, if I'd care if she died tomorrow. The question was asked out of nowhere. She just came into my room at 10 p.m. to ask me on a Friday night. I told her that wasn't a question I would answer. 3 days later she asked me the question again and said I had a weird reaction to the question. I ignored her, but she asked again, this time in front of my mom. My mom backed up my stepsister and told me she was allowed to ask since I'm so distant with her, and refused to stop calling her my stepsister when she calls me her brother. I got really frustrated with them and I called them out. I told my stepsister she was asking a question that would lead to a really bad reaction if I answered one way, and she'd likely call crap with the good answer. I told her she might not like that I call her my stepsister when she calls me her brother, but it doesn't mean she can force questions that could have negative consequences on me. I told mom she was just looking for me to say something that could get me into trouble for this, because she doesn't like that I still use step. My mom told me I should be willing to accept consequences, like punishment consequences, if I'm going to remain distant from more than half of my family, stepdad and stepsister. I told her she wasn't being fair because I was civil and polite and I didn't cause crap for anyone. She yelled at me that I should have been willing to open my heart to growing our family after dad died, and instead I made life sad for all 3 of them because I'm not along for the ride. She said being polite isn't good enough when people's emotions and hearts are in the mix. My stepsister started crying, which made mom send me to my room. She took my phone for 5 days as a punishment, and my stepsister told me after the punishment was handed down that it served me right for not being the brother she wanted. Additional info you might need: my dad died when I was 7, mom remarried when I was 10. I had grief therapy and we all did family therapy together. I'm close to both sets of grandparents and one paternal uncle. My stepsister's mom abandoned her when she was a baby, and she has no contact with her mom's side of the family and only a little contact with her dad's side. Her dad isn't close to his family and he has tried to change it but doesn't work. She wanted me to be her brother from the start and called me her brother before my mom even married her dad. I never say sister or dad for her and her dad. I don't hate her. I was always more indifferent, but lately starting to dislike her for being so pushy and whiny about it. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mother is. Punishing you will do the opposite of making you closer. You can't force people to be close. You can only give people time and maybe they will get close naturally. Opie replies. Yeah, my mom's punishing me for this, but I also know it's her way of punishing me for wanting a sibling when dad was alive and then changing my feelings after he died. She always hated that not having another kid with dad changed my wish for a sibling. She was so sure I'd love having my stepsister and would instantly see her as the little sister I'd wanted before. But that wasn't how it felt for me. Mom never forgave me for it because she so desperately wanted to feel like pretty much nothing had changed, and we got that bigger family she also tried to have with dad. Not the a-hole. Mom really is burning bridges, huh? Opie replies. She has a lot of anger built up at me that she's releasing in ways like this. Not the a-hole. Can't force a relationship through punishment. Can I ask a deep question? Could your mom's force and punishment be the reason why you can't feel close to your stepdad and stepsister? It's been 6 years of them in your life. What is stopping that relationship from progressing? You do not have to answer this. I'm just getting philosophical. Opie replies. It's not because of that. It's because I don't want to have the same nuclear family with them that I had with my dad. I used to want a sibling, back when my dad was alive. Dreamed about it. Begged my parents. Wrote about it in school. But my feelings changed after dad died, and my stepdad and stepsister just can't match what I wish we'd had with dad. I know some people don't see it as any different, but I always have, and I probably always will. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.